So last winter I made a video talking about how I survive winter wearing only historical clothing, because I'm a daily wearer of historical fashion, which means regardless of the season, I'm still wearing historical fashion, and people historically also wore this fashion as their everyday clothing. So they clearly were able to make it work regardless of the weather. So when I started wearing historical fashion, I knew that I would have to make it work regardless of the weather too if I was planning to wear historical fashion all year round. I'm currently in my dressing robe, and that's because I'm about to change into a bunch of different outfits, so I thought there was absolutely no purpose in me getting dressed in one of them right now. I think a lot of people have curiosities around how to stay warm in historical clothing in winter, but I get even more curiosities on how to stay cool, or at least surviving during the summer. So as a parallel to the video I made over winter, this is going to be how I survive summer wearing only historical clothing. And I can tell you for a fact that it's doable, but first of all, it starts with material choice. Now, I found from my own personal experience that the best option of historical materials for summer is lightweight cottons, lightweight linens, lightweight wool actually, like a summer weight or a tropical wool, and also something like a lightweight silk chiffon. You can also go with some other natural plant-based materials such as hemp or rami, and all of these have their pros and cons when it comes to wearing them at the heat of summer. My favorites by far are linen and lightweight wool, and the reason why is because wool has natural antimicrobial properties and it just breathes extremely well. It's very impressive. And linen, when it gets sweaty because of perspiration, it doesn't feel cold to the touch or sticky or kind of gross like cotton can sometimes. Another thing to consider is airflow, and that's why a lot of the historical outfits that I wear over the summer are quite airy and flowy. Not all of them, of course, because I do think that material choice matters more than airflow, but airflow is also sometimes an important factor. And I think the main thing is to experiment with different options and find out what works best for you. Now, as an example, I'm going to take you through some historical outfits that I actually do wear during summertime when it gets very hot, and I'm going to show you how I layer them, how I accessorize them, and in general just what I wear and why I've selected specific periods of time and specific garments. So a lot of historical outfits start with an underlayer or an undergarment, and in many cases it's something like a shift or a chemise, and these are basically plain white cotton or linen undergarments that get put underneath your shirt or skirt or dress, depending on what you're wearing. Part of their function is actually to absorb a lot of your body moisture when you sweat. That way you don't have to wash your outer garment as frequently, which saves you a lot of time and resources and money, and historically in a time when doing laundry was incredibly laborious and difficult work, this was an extremely useful garment. I personally can't go without wearing one of these with my garments because I just find them incredibly comfortable, and they really do have a very intentional purpose as well. For summer, I choose much lighter weight chemises and shifts, so for example, one's made of a lightweight linen, or one's made of a cotton voile, which is very nice. This just starts you off with a very lightweight base layer that still serves a function as well. And historically, people very often wore some type of stocking to keep their leg covered, at least in some of the periods that I'm interested in. So for my stockings for summer, I have very lightweight silk stockings, which are just perfect because they keep my leg covered and protected from the sun, whilst also breathing really well and having nice airflow, so I don't feel like I'm getting warmer at my legs. Now that we've got our underlayers more or less covered, when it comes to the actual outer garments, I wear a number of things. So one of my favorites for summer and one of my go-tos is the ancient Greek chiton. And I have a video where I give myself an ancient Greek makeover. That's the first time I ever made a chiton. Last summer I did not have these, but this summer I've come prepared because I finally made some, and so far as the weather has been warming up, we're not quite in summer yet, but we're about to be, these have already come in handy and they've already been incredible to wear. These are really versatile. I just pop them over a lightweight shift or chemise and some silk stockings, and they're just made of linen or cotton, or you can even make them out of a lightweight silk as well. That's very comfortable. Though silk and cotton historically for the ancient Greeks would have been more of an upper class material, but this is your fashion. You don't have to do everything historically accurate. I certainly don't. My main thing is focusing on what feels comfortable to me with as much historical accuracy as I can implement within that kind of boundary. These are wonderful because they're just made of either one or two pieces of just giant rectangular material, and then you gather or pleat it down, and then you create the shape by belting or putting ribbons, or there's so many different ways you can accessorize these. You can make them out of all sorts of colors and materials. You can put different head wraps as well and put brooches and different accessories. So yeah, I really love this garment personally, and I'm going to be wearing a lot of these this summer, and I'm about to make a bunch more of them too, just so I can be extra prepared. A little tip is to actually prepare your summer wardrobe in the winter, because that way you're not struggling when it gets really hot and, you know, freaking out over the fact that the weather's warming and you have nothing to wear. That's been me in the past, so I definitely learned my lesson this year. Another garment that I love to wear in summer is the 14th century Italian shift, except I took the pattern of the shift and I made it as an outerwear dress, and instead I wear a cotton shift underneath that. So normally these are worn underneath the outer garment, but I decided why not wear underwear as outerwear because it's such a beautiful garment and I want to be able to show it off. And this is one of my favorites that I've made. I'm actually in the middle of making a second one right now, so that's going to be really nice in another color. But I really love this green one, and I've had it for over a year now, and it's really come in handy, and it really saved me last summer, and it's going to be saving me this summer too. Another type of outfit that I love to wear in summer is my indigenous dress. So I'm a Volga Tatar. If you've been watching my channel, you already know this for a while. And we are Turkic people that are indigenous to the Volga-Ural region. And we have our own incredible historical fashion history and garments. And I've been working the past couple of years to research and start reconstructing them. So two dresses in particular that I made are really lovely as well for warmer weather. They cover a lot more, so it actually helps to protect me from the sun, but they're made of linen or cotton linen blended, so it's a really nice material for when it gets hotter. One of them is this late 19th century, early 20th century working woman's dress that I made. And I absolutely love this garment. I've also shown it in my winter fashion video because you can put a lot of layers underneath and on top of this, and it also works really well for colder weather. Or you can just remove all the layers and just have a base layer, and it works great for hotter weather. And the other one is a test dress I made, which is a slightly older style from the early 19th century and the late 18th century. And it's this tunic-like dress which is cut from rectangles as well as having gores set in. We call it tunika saman in the Tatar language, which just implies that it's tunic-like. And underneath these, I wear a shifter chemise from my other historical clothing, but with regards to historical accuracy, there's quite a bit of mystery surrounding what Tatar people actually wore underneath these. If they were wearing nothing and it would just be directly against the skin, or if they were wearing a similar garment with the same kind of tunic cut, but made of a white material or some type of undergarment material, like a lightweight linen or cotton, something plain that they could then just wash really easily. So yeah, the research isn't totally clear about what they did, but my guess is that there was probably some people that wore them directly against the skin, and some people that wore them over a base undergarment. I personally like to wear them over something lightweight because I just feel the most comfortable that way. And underneath those goes another undergarment, which is called ishtan, and they are basically like these wide-legged cut pants, which I have reconstructed, and you can see it in the video linked in the cards above. I have two pairs of these, one in a red cotton material and one in a teal linen, and that matches my two dresses that I have as well, so I can have little matching sets, or I can mix and match the colors together, which is really fun as well. And historically, these were generally tucked into the socks, so the socks would then basically keep them held up and everything would be together. It's actually really nice. It's a very convenient way. And a little fun fact, historically all Volga Tatars, irrespective of their gender, wore the same undergarments. And in fact, in the Tatar language, we only have one word for gender, and that's ul. The last outfit that I want to talk about is actually a Victorian option, because before I started wearing clothing from other regions of the world and other older time periods, I primarily wore Victorian and Georgian clothing. So with the Victorian clothing, I was wearing this at the heat of summers as well, corset and all. I wore a corset every day for some years actually before I finally stopped and started only wearing them now when I wear Victorian clothing or clothing that requires corsetry. So for a Victorian summer ensemble, I generally will wear a linen wrapper dress. And wrapper dresses were worn by all classes of people. They were often worn as at-home wear, or for some people they were also worn out, or they could be worn as working dresses, maternity clothing. They had so many different functions, and part of the reason why is because they're completely size adjustable. In fact, you may have noticed that every single garment here today is completely size adjustable. That means that regardless of how much weight I gain or lose in my lifetime, natural body changes that we all go through as human beings, my clothing is always going to fit me because it's dependent more so on my shoulders and my upper body area here and the measurements there, which don't generally change over time. This is actually one of my most favorite things about wearing historical fashion, is that I can just carry these clothes with me throughout all the seasons of my life. So the wrapper dress can be worn with or without corsetry, and if it's a really, really, really hot day and I don't need the extra support, I'll just wear it without corsetry, and that's perfectly fine and easy. I'll just wear it over a shift and some silk stockings. And if it's a day kind of in the mid to late 20s Celsius, then I will wear it over corsetry, and I have a special summer weight linen corset which is perfect for this. If I don't feel like I need the full body support, then I'll wear my short Regency stays instead. So I like to mix eras and periods. And this just helps to create some bust support without necessarily needing to also give me as much back support. And they're a bit shorter, so they tend to be even less against the body, and there's even more airflow. Over the corsetry, I will sometimes put a little bit of padding, and so I can put some bust padding as well as some bum padding, which just helps to create the fashionable silhouette at the time where the bust and hips are a bit bigger and then the waist is a bit further in. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about corsetry, and I just want to say that I am never personally uncomfortable in a bespoke, well-fitting corset that's made to my measurements, because I also don't lace it down very much. It's not there for so much an aesthetic purpose as it is a foundational garment, and as it is something to help support my body. In particular, I've really found this to come in handy when doing laborious work, because it just helps to create even more support when I'm doing heavy lifting or having to move a lot. And finally over that, I can put a lightweight cotton corset cover or combinations, which is where you have the drawers and the corset cover combined into one. And Victorian drawers are split crotch, meaning that it makes it super easy to use the bathroom, because a lot of people think that you can't use the bathroom in historical clothes, but that is definitely very far from the truth, because people were intelligent and they still are intelligent, and no one is going to create clothing for themselves where they can't use the bathroom every single day, especially when it's like clothing that they're actually wearing every single day of their lives. Over that, I put a lightweight cotton petticoat, and this just helps to cover everything a bit more, create a bit more modesty. And the final garment is this Victorian linen wrapper that I put over it. And I like to belt these with a leather belt or a ribbon, or sometimes I can also make an accompanying belt. And that's basically the entire look. Shoes-wise, I get asked this a lot, and I sometimes wear leather flats or leather sandals, or just shoes with less material around them, so something that isn't as heavy or covering as a boot. Some additional accessories that you might want to consider in summer are things like straw hats, which are really nice, or a very lightweight cotton, linen, or lightweight wool shawl, and that just helps to cover things a bit more. You can also cover your neck a bit to protect yourself from the sun, which is always nice. Obviously, you should also use SPF. In all honesty, getting dressed in summer is pretty easy and pretty hassle-free. You don't have to think about that many layers, and everything breathes really nicely, and it feels nice sometimes to just pretend you're an ancient Grecian wandering around in the sun. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see me give myself an ancient Greek makeover, then be sure to click on this video next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks for another video.